All right, so today we're going to look at gross pay versus net pay. If you've been following along with us, I mentioned to you that you don't get to bring home every penny that you earn at your job. So that's kind of the down part. That's the spoiler alert, that we don't get everything. So we call gross pay the amount of money you make before you have to give away any of your money for taxes and other deductions. Net pay is when that's actually the money that you take home and you put in your wallet. See the picture there? You're putting that money in your wallet because it's actually yours. It's the money that's left over after taxes and other deductions. So the good news is that when you're young, you get most of what you earn. You get the highest percentage back, usually on average. There's probably a scenario out there somewhere that's different, but the good news is that when you're young, you get the most, I think, of what you actually earn. You don't need to worry about insurance or other fees that older adults do. This is just your first part-time job. So on estimates, you're actually going to bank or bring home about 80% of your gross pay. And this is an average amount, but it's about 80%. So remember, gross pay is the amount you make just by multiplying your wage and rate with the number of hours that you work. So that formula, again, we multiply because you're getting paid that same amount over and over and over and over for every hour that you work. So that is repeated addition, or AKA multiplication. So again, you're going to multiply your wage and rate. And again, you guys have a note sheet if you would like to write down this information. So your wage and rate, you're going to multiply it by the number of hours that you work. All right. So when we do that, that gives us our gross pay. So let's say you worked for, $5. So let's keep it simple. Let's do $10. That's easy to multiply with. And we worked 5 hours, let's say. So we get $50 gross pay, right? But again, we're going to be taking out money for taxes. You pay taxes on the federal, state, and local level. And again, there could be some other fees that are in there as well. If you're part of a union, you would have a fee that comes out. But again, the older you get, the more involved you get with some of these deductions. So for right now, we earn about 80%. So a deduction is usually something that is subtracted, right? But again, we're like estimating, right? So if I bring home $50, I'm again even just looking at my job, I'm not even sure how much is going to come out for my taxes and deductions. It's going to be different for everybody. But again, there's that estimate of 80%. So I know a lot of times students are trying to subtract something, right? Because I know I have to take out money for that. But in reality, when you have percents, if you're trying to figure out kind of an average performance, like 80% of this, 80% of that, anytime you see a percent, we're going to multiply. So you multiply by 80%. Now, again, see if I can bring this up. Sorry, it's multiplied by 80%. But on your phone calculator, you can use the percent button. And again, this I think is going to be the most helpful tool for you because this is what you're going to have on in your everyday life. So it's helpful to kind of get some practice on a basic calculator. And this also saves you from converting a percent into a decimal. If you remember in elementary school, anytime we had a percent, you always have to turn it into a decimal in order to use it in a problem. If you're adding it, multiplying it, and so forth. So this also saves you that extra step and it makes it really handy. So you're going to multiply by 80%, again, to estimate how much. So let's take a look at that first one. You have 540. Let me see if I can fix up the screen here and grab a calculator. Okay, so again, basic calculators have a percent sign typically. And again, I know on smartphones, most smartphones also have that as well. So 540, and we're going to figure out our net pay. So we're going to multiply by 80%. So 540 times 80, make sure to put that percent sign. And if you look, even on a smartphone, you're going to see it actually converted that decimal for you by hitting that percent button. So go ahead and enter, and this person is actually going to bring home $432. So kind of crushing, but it's reality. So again, we can't pretend to, hey, I can afford an Xbox for $500 because I'm going to make $540. You're really not. You're going to spend some of that money on things you don't want to and end up with $432 in your pocket. All right, another example, $152. Same process. I'm going to figure out my net pay. I'm going to estimate again. I get 80%. I'm pretty young, let's say. So 80%, 121.6. Now, if we're looking at money, guys, 121.6 kind of looks a little funny. Money, the layout or the format is we've got dollars, right? Here's our decimal to indicate then whatever to the right of the decimal is our change, right? 10 cents, 20 cents, 15 cents, 18 cents, 99 cents, right? But it's 2 decimal spots, right? So when I have a 0.6, I gotta fill in that extra spot because money, the format is 2 decimal spots after, or 2 spots after the decimal. Now, 432, you could add the decimal to $2, but if it's an even whole number amount, you definitely don't have to. All right, there's 2 more examples on there for you. Go ahead and try them on your own, see what you get. I'll meet you back here just to check your answers. All right, 110 multiplied by 80%, $88. 200, multiply it by 80%. Again, make sure you use that percent button. Totally different if you do not. So for that second one here, 160. Now use your logic, guys, too. Let's say you forgot 200 times, and you're like 80, oh, forgot the percent, and you hit enter. Look at that answer, 16,000. Please don't put that down. I would hope that you would stop a minute and think, why am I calculating this? What am I doing? This is what I make. I know I'm going to bring home less money. Take a look at that amount, guys. $16,000. That's definitely not a decrease. So again, if you do forget to use the percentage, at least hopefully it's glaring enough to you that you would go back and redo. All right, let's take a look at how we kind of apply big picture. So for each person listed, we're going to go through the scenario, read what they do, how much they make, what's their scenario of how many hours they worked, and then take a look at calculating their gross pay and then net pay, what they're going to average, bringing home in their pockets. All right, so scenario number 1, Justin, he's a drive-through worker. He makes $8.50 and 25 hours, works 25 hours per week. So what's his gross pay? What can he predict he's going to bring in that week? Well, we're multiplying. We looked at wage type jobs where we multiply. So 850 times 25. We can use the X for multiplication. I know you've heard me say not to earlier in the school year, but this is basic math. And we know that there's no variables involved. This is just showing our math computations. We're not trying to solve for, any unknown middle number. We're just adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. So you can use that as the operation. So when we multiply here, you get 212.5. Here's another scenario where what's 5? Well, I got to have 2 decimal spots. So make sure, guys, add that second spot. It's going to be 0, 212.50. That makes sense. Now, 80% of that, again, is what he's going to bring home his pocket. So we're going to multiply by 80%. So take that value. If it's in your calculator and your phone, just keep it in there. Hit that times button, 80, then percent, and you find 170. So on average, Justin, the drive-through worker, is going to bring home $170 per week. And again, for a part-time job, if you're looking to buy, a new sweatshirt or a new game or something, $170 can most certainly get you there. So it's nice to have some personal income as you get a little older. All right, let's take a look at the second example here. Rena, she's a babysitter. 25 per hour is what she's charging her customers. This may be an official job at a YMCA where there's offering babysitting services, or maybe she just, she babysits every couple weekends or something like that. But regardless, she's going to make $25 an hour, 10 hours a week. So to figure out her gross pay, her wage, we're going to multiply. So 25 times 10. Put it in your calculator, do your mental math, whatever works for you. 250 is what she's going to make. Now let's say if this was just on the down low and you're babysitting for your aunt or you're babysitting for your sister, there's no taxes. You don't have to send any money away. It's just straight in the pocket. So that's something to be mindful. Now, if it is, let's say again, there are babysitting services, maybe at a Y or a gym, to give parents that opportunity to do something on their own. So sometimes there are, sometimes there are not. So assess your own situation. But let's say it is at an official place and you do have to pay taxes. Same procedure, take 250, multiply it by 80%. Hopefully you got $200. So again, we would all love to take home that gross pay, just get every penny that we work for and bring it home, but not the way the real world works. But again, as a youth, when you first start out, on average, you take about 80% home. So that's at least best. You are doing the best of all of us in that wage job. So hopefully you learned something. There are some more practice examples for you to complete. Take a look at different scenarios. There are ones with tips. There are ones, so the next one on your page is Rena's now a nail tech. She gets tips. There are also scenarios where you've got overtime. Okay, so try your best. I know those ones are a little bit tricky, like Bo the lifeguard, he's got a regular wage and overtime and rates that differ. So by all means, ask questions if you need help. Good luck, and hopefully you find this useful.